Hello, hello. Well, welcome to Wednesday morning, Richie.
Good morning.
Hopefully, when I roped you in for this, that you weren't like, there goes my sleep. Thanks.
Just today.
Just today.
Yeah, got to get my car fixed after this.
Oh, sorry to hear that. Um, so, if our friends here aren't familiar with you, Richie, you do a lot of paranormal investigation, have had quite a bit of um, interactions, happenings,
Oh,
and
yeah.
stories. So, since we kind of had some friends that were used to joining us on Wednesday mornings to talk all things paranormal, we thought, like, hey, Richie, would you like to join in on this? Because Marianne is taking a step back. She's pretty much retired now. She'll do a few things privately. So, to keep some Wednesday morning paranormal discussions, we thought, hey, Richie, come join, come help
Awesome.
answer questions, share experiences. So, friends here, feel free to ask questions, share some experiences, ask Richie, for his opinion and what he's experienced. Because, Richie, you do use some of the paranormal equipment or have
Oh,
been
yeah.
in investigations. So, whereas Marianne hadn't before, you have. So, you have some suggestions or some do's and don'ts, maybe, of using some of that equipment. Hey, Queens, good to see you. Hey, Divine. I would love now, Richie, if we're ever out in the DC area, we have to hook up with Divine. She works in a library, and every time I think of her working in the library, I think of that haunted library in Ghostbusters with the books flying around. And I'm sure it's not
Mm.
that dramatic, but it is fun because that would be the place. That would be the place I would go haunt our libraries because I like
Absolutely.
books.
I would haunt libraries and coffee shops.
Ooh, coffee shop's good too.
Not
Um,
that I could drink coffee, I guess. So I guess that would be pointless.
um, yeah, true. That would be the downside. Like you couldn't drink it, but you could smell it, and it smells awesome.
True.
Now,
And
have
if
you?
I didn't like somebody, I could spill their coffee on
Right? Didn't like that comment. Hot coffee on your lap for you.
them.
Now, have you been to any of the notoriously haunted libraries like that one in Indiana?
I have not been to any haunted, well, notoriously haunted libraries. The only thing that, I've been to the Mansfield Richland Public Library, which is rumored to be haunted. And I do feel sometimes when I'm there, I do feel some spirit activity going on, but I've never had any actual experiences there.
Okay.
But, it's one of those things, kids talk about it around town like, oh, the library's haunted, but, like everything's haunted when you're in high school. So, but the building is old and it used to be, I'm pretty sure I read somewhere it used to be the courthouse or something, or a city building of some kind.
Oh,
So I mean, it could be.
hmm. Now, once years ago, I mean, Rune was still like little. Um, I did drive out because at that time I was living at Fort Campbell, so
Mhm.
it wasn't that far of a drive to go. I think it's Evansville, Indiana, that it's in to that library, and it is one of those locations where it's got the cameras 24/7, so you
Okay.
can watch at any given point. And there's at least three or four. Like there was one down in the kids. There's one up on the main floor. I think one in the stairwell, and so you can watch any of those and kind of ghost hunt from home. Um, I it was more for me like I could smell the one lady and kept feeling a little different in certain parts down in the children's area. But unfortunately, and maybe fortunately, for the sake of the integrity of the books, like nothing went flying across the room, nothing, no bookcases came down. But that one was neat, and I wouldn't mind going back again. But I'm sure if you guys like are interested, you can like Google it and find it. But they do leave cameras up like I say this now and I'm like, it's been years. Maybe
Mm.
they don't. Maybe we open up a side tab and hopefully that didn't just take me out of the stream. And see what we can find.
Yeah, because that would be interesting to know if it's still done, if they still do that.
Yeah. It is the Willard Library.
Willard.
Um, and I do believe, yep, Willard Library Ghost Cams.
You know what? I do. I'm now that I'm thinking about. I tried when I was writing, when I was doing the research for Indiana for Into the Known. I tried to find a bunch of information on Willard on that library because it was in the top 10 most haunted places in Indiana.
Hmm.
And so I tried, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to find enough to, um, fill a chapter. So I'm like, I moved on.
Moved on.
Yeah.
Now, Divine asks, I used to work in theater, not movie theaters, theaters.
Mm,
It is said that all theaters are haunted. Have
I
you
believe
found
so.
that to be true in your experience?
I believe so. I believe that all all theaters, whether it be movie theater or where you go to watch a live show, um, stadiums, um, schools, I believe there's some form of haunting in every single one of them. Whether it's an intelligent haunt where you get interaction, or whether it's a residual haunt. I think that just the energy that's put into all these places by hundreds and thousands of people over the years just kind of comes together. And I actually was just having this discussion with my boss this morning. But I think that that is definitely the case, that all theaters are haunted. I know the one here in town is.
Okay.
um I've done a couple shows there, and I was sitting out in the hallway once. This didn't make it into the book because it wasn't scary enough to me. But I was sitting outside. We were on break from rehearsals, and we were in the old wing of the theater. And I started hearing somebody walking on the stairs. And so I went over there, obviously, as an investigator. My first instinct is to go right straight toward the noise to find out what's going on. So I went over there and I'm looking around and I'm like, okay, there's nobody over here. So I walked down the stairs thinking maybe they went through the door. At some point, that door was sealed up and it's just a wall now. Like there was a door there at one point, but now it's a wall. And the stairs are there to go down into like a storage room that's down at the bottom of the stairs. And there was nobody in that room either. So I'm like, oh, well, I just had a run in with our theater ghost.
Mm.
But, theaters, absolutely. Theaters, schools. And I was talking to my boss about a private bar I belong to in Mansfield that my parents work at that's haunted. And I think that there is a lot more paranormal activity and bars and stuff than people realize too. Because whether it's good or bad energy, there's something there, something left over from all of the people. And, I like to think most of it's good times because I would like to think that there isn't a lot of bad times when you're drinking. But I know that there are some bad times.
Well, and you have to wonder too, because people are going, right? At least
Mhm.
half of the people in that building are there drinking on purpose
Yeah,
to get tipsy, to get drunk.
yeah,
Um, so, how well are their perceptions of what's going on around them?
exactly.
Are they even noticing? Or are you, as the more sober, designated driver, kind of writing off experiences around you as the drunk guy in the corner or the
Right.
stumbling person? So I think it's easy to kind of poo poo sometimes
Right.
because of just where you're at.
Yeah,
Um,
it's easy to write it off as just one of those things. You
and
know,
everybody coming in, we've got Richie with us, and we may keep Richie for regular Wednesdays. Richie, you're an investigator, so to catch some friends up coming in, you
yeah,
go out hunting, you use equipment. You've been pretty much, from what I can see from your book, almost all over Ohio, or at least it feels like from your stories everywhere.
that's what you would think. But
Right,
believe it or not, it's not all over Ohio. It's mostly Mansfield.
mostly Mansfield. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of those places are just places like, when you're young and dumb and your friends are like, hey, let's go out to this abandoned place and, whatever. And that's how some of them happened. Other ones like the reformatory, obviously, I was there on purpose completely, and I was there for that purpose. Um, very, very few. I think there's only two experiences in this book that are outside of Ohio. And that's West Virginia and no, I think it's just West Virginia. Yeah, actually, it's just West Virginia because I was thinking, for some reason, I wasn't putting two and two together. West Virginia State Pen and then the Mothman bunkers, which are both in West Virginia. Everything else did happen in Ohio. Only maybe three or four, maybe five of the locations in Ohio
Hmm.
were outside of Richland County.
Gotcha. Now, you do, though, entertain the idea of other states, other locations.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I have it in my plans to try and get onto investigations in Indiana, Kentucky, at least. Oh, definitely Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
Um,
Chris says, I've heard that Mansfield area has a lot of paranormal.
mhm. I
I would,
mean,
between the college being out there, so you got all the young, dumb people,
well, that's yeah.
and the prison, the prisons.
I mean, yeah, we got the reformatory, obviously, which is considered one of the most haunted places in America.
Hmm.
Um, we have the Bisman building. Unfortunately, it's no longer open for investigations, but I did get to go in and investigate before they closed, which is awesome. But I mean, there are a lot of other locations because especially around like my neighborhood where I grew up, because it was at one point the Mansfield Cemetery, and then they moved to where it's at now,
Oh,
but they didn't get all of the bodies, they just moved stones.
oh, so just the place markers, but not the actual.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
right.
wonderful.
So, and around the downtown area of Mansfield, there is graves under the ground. I mean, we know for a fact that there was some under our house.
Mm.
Um, which explains a lot now that I'm thinking about it. I didn't really put that together until just now either. That explains why so much stuff happened in that house. I'd
Morning
be
revelations. The more you know.
I'd be mad too if my grave was moved, my marker was moved, and my body wasn't.
Oh, right. Yeah, divine with the heck. Move the headstones, not the grave. But, probably trying to save the money. That's
Mhm.
how city planning goes, right? All about the city planning and the
That's,
taxes.
that's exactly.
Coins I know does ghost hunting, and he's like, you should come out to Atchison. There we go. Words are hard. Finish with C. Kansas. I would love, and I used to joke with Mira, and I'm like, we're going to get a tour bus and just go around ghost hunting. And she was like, nope. And I get it. Richie, you're
We,
young. We can take you out. We can go
we
ghost hunting.
can do it. I need a vacation.
So, yeah, define West Virginia, Appalachian Mountains definitely have paranormal going on there. Um,
Encrypted. There's a lot of there is a lot of monsters and different paranormal claims all throughout the Appalachian Mountains. I mean, I'm obsessed with all the legends from Appalachia because you got so many different like types of Bigfoot and different cryptid creatures, and it's amazing because it's like I am one of those people that I truly do believe in everything.
mhm.
I really do. I don't think anything is outside the realm of possibility.
I've heard that. So if you hear your name called, no, you don't. Yep.
Yeah,
Um,
I've heard
you,
that. And
you don't
that's
acknowledge that you saw anything either. You just keep on walking. Like,
so that is something I've not experienced. I've never had my name called, but I always said that even with all the experiences I've had, and I've had some scary damn experiences, if my name gets called, I'm probably going to peace out. Like unless I said my name or I heard one of my people with me say my name and I
mhm.
hear my name, I'm peacing out because like no, we ain't doing this today. You are not saying my name. That and if I hear a child laughing. Children's laughter is adorable when you can see the child.
Yeah, it's
It is creepy
that's
as you
more
cannot.
freaky to me. Than you call my name, what the hell do you want? You know, just
I
because you're
mean,
invisible doesn't mean we ain't going to discuss some things.
I
But
mean, I say I'm going to peace out, but the truth is, you never actually know how you're going to react in the situation until the situation happens.
mhm.
So
Well,
until the day comes that happens, I can't truly say that I'm going to peace out, but I think I probably would.
I've I can say that only because the bike path, which used to be the railroad in Kipton, because family being from there, we used to walk it all the time.
Mhm.
And so there were a few times where me and my friend Rhonda would be walking at night, just trying to find something to do in the middle of cornfields in Lorain County, and would hear that whole like either the name being called or the footsteps that are like one or two steps behind you. That as you stop
Oh yeah,
walking, you hear that last one or two, and then they stop walking. So
yeah,
where she's like, "Let's keep going." I'm turning around, going, "What do you want?" She's like,
yeah,
"Why are you so aggressive?" I'm like, "Why are they being creepy?" Um,
yeah. Why are they stalking me? Like I
yeah,
need to know. I need answers. Like if they're following us, okay, but like why?
yeah.
Like
Generally, though, I mean, now I'm like, oh, I sound like a certain person who roid rages at ghosts on TV. I'm not that bad. Um, I'm not. We will not say names because we don't want to get sued. Um,
right, but we all know.
but generally, it's kind of like if I can be respectful and like, hey, if you're here, make a sound, do this, do
Right,
that. But
and that's how it should be.
if you're coming off as a jerk, I'm going to be a jerk right back. Uh,
Exactly. I treat the dead just like I treat the living.
yeah,
If you're if you're being a jerk to me, I'm being a jerk right back because if you can dish it, you can take it.
that's right. Uh,
Um, but I try. I really do like when I'm investigating. I start out as nice as I can be because like if you if you came into my home and just started demanding stuff, I'm going to be like, who the hell do you think you are? Like this is my house.
mhm.
Now, if you're asking me, then we can talk about it. But if you're telling me, that there's an issue with that. So I start out nice, and slowly work my way up to the level of the TV personality.
Real
I've
quick,
gotten there. I hate going there, but I've gotten there.
Yeah, I think maybe we could discuss next week, because give us time, because I'm just surprising this on you. Maybe for new people, like a ghost hunter's code of ethics and like coins, if you're available next week. Like if we forget anything, like put it in there. Or divine. I don't know if you've ever said that you go ghost hunting, but for new people watching, like what you should and shouldn't do, like going around being a
Right,
jerk right off the bat. Like, would you treat the living person standing there that way? Because why
right,
would
no,
um,
yeah. There's just
that's
so much wrong with the way it's done on TV. With certain, there's certain ones who I watch and I'm like, okay, okay, I respect you. I like what you're doing. And there's other ones where it's like, yeah, you know what? I watched about 5 minutes of this show. I'm done. I'm not doing it.
yeah, yeah. Um, right? Because they're people, just
Yeah,
invisible people. So they deserve their respect. You came up in their house. How are you going to act like a jerk?
right. You
You
know, they're humans. They're just in a different form.
know?
I mean, just because I'm not sitting here looking at a physical body doesn't mean that shouldn't show you the same respect that I would show you if you were physically standing in front of me.
Right.
Because here's the problem: I get disrespectful if you're, in physical form. We can throw hands. I can fight. you know, but I'm talking like this to you now. I can't hit back at this point. It's like
Right.
I'm doing what I can not to get tore up. There are certain places I go to, like prisons and stuff, where I automatically want to jump right in and start being an ass because I'm like, this is how they were in life, and I believe that if you were a jerk in life, you're a jerk in death.
Mm,
Um, but then I have to take a step back from that. That's how I was as a young investigator.
hmm.
Everybody goes through that phase where they just start out being a jerk right away. It's like, okay, we can't provoke right away, guys. And that's a
Right.
sign. And to me, and I've said this to a couple celebrities that I talked to, at the reformatory, that is the difference between a ghost hunter and a paranormal investigator. A ghost hunter is there for the thrills. They're going to provoke. They want crazy things to happen. An investigator is being respectful. They want to find out, you know, what's going on, why you're here, who you are, tell your story. They're not here just to, you know, treat you like, it's not a circus act. And
Right.
and people think like, oh, this is for my entertainment. Yeah, there has to be some, like when you're doing it in the sense like where you're paying for a ghost hunt at the reformatory. Okay. Yes, there's going to be some entertainment factor in that for you. But then, there's TV personalities again who go into people's homes and do the same thing.
Hmm.
Doing it in prison it's not okay, but it's more understandable. But doing it in somebody's home is just wrong, completely wrong. Because I know you said we were going to talk about this next week, but now you done got me going. So, um, like, you go into somebody's business, you go into somebody's house, they called you in because they're already having issues. It's already to a point that they can't handle it anymore, or else they wouldn't have called you in. So now you're going in, you're provoking right away, you're being a jerk, you're ticking off the spirits. You get to go home.
Hmm.
The people that you're supposed to be helping have to deal with the ramifications of what you're doing now. So you tick the spirit off, you leave. Well, they're going to take their anger out on the person you were there supposed to be helping.
Hmm.
So, that just it's not okay to do it like that. Now, if you're being nice and you know, I like to do this thing. I play nice. And if I'm getting like what I call weak answers, I'll be like, now come on. Now that's pretty weak answer. I'm not believing that you're really here doing what you're doing. You got to do better than that. And then slowly I get more and more like almost taunting. But then, when I get the reaction I'm looking for, I'm like, I explain, I just did that to help you get where you needed to be to give me that answer. And then I apologize because even though I did it on purpose, I knew what I was doing.
Hmm.
If you get a little, when you get a little, go a little too far with another human, you apologize for it. It doesn't necessarily make it better, but you apologize.
Right.
And so I apologize, and like, I'm sorry. This is what I had to do to get you where you needed to be, to get me the answers that I was looking for. And thank you for that. And again, I'm sorry that we had to go where we went. And I understand that, things work differently over on the other side. They don't always have the strength necessarily to do everything we ask them to do.
Hmm.
I don't know, truth is, nobody in the living world truly knows how it works over there. Not
No,
a,
not to we're over there, and then how
mm,
hard is it to
yeah,
communicate? Like that's not how it really happens.
yeah. And, some people are like, but mediums can do, and I'm like, okay, mediums can talk to them and whatever, different variations of communications, but even they don't know how it works on the other side.
Hmm.
The only way for us to truly understand how it works is to go there ourselves. And I don't know about you, but I'm not in a big hurry to get there.
I mean, granted, I'm tired of being on this planet.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence.
I'm like, well,
Um,
see, I just told my boss, I'm like, I'm at peace. I know that whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Somebody just passed away. That's what sparked the conversation. And I'm like, I'm at peace. When death comes, I'm gonna go with him. I'm not gonna argue with him. I'm not gonna be one of them people like, why me? Why me? Oh, you're here. Let's go. Like when he knocks on the door, I'm gonna answer.
mhm.
But he don't need to knock on the door anytime soon. Like I'm not ready for him to knock on the door. But when he does, like it is what it is. Like,
Yeah. I thought that myself for the longest time. But then in part of the shaman training that I go through, and not to go too far off topic, like there's a whole weekend dedicated to death, and you go through the whole death and the dying.
mhm,
And the whole point is to like really kind of experience it, and how comfortable are you going to be, and realizing some of that work isn't necessarily from the outside point of view, isn't necessarily helping the person finish dying. It's the living who beg them to stay
yeah,
and prolong it. So part of that work is comforting the living who's losing a loved one while helping that loved one finish letting go. And it was interesting to see the women in the group. Like we all struggled with, leaving family, leaving children, leaving things. It was the men who were like, I didn't get to go in that car ride. I've always like it was material things for most of the men there, whereas
yeah,
the women it was the loved ones. So when talking with Marianne and her like young mothers aren't going to leave their children, like I get it.
right,
And when she's like men stand at their funerals and see how many cars are in line, I'm like perfect example. In our own class. Um, but it was a realization to me of like my hard part wouldn't be letting go of like, oh, the body, the pain, the this and that. It would be like how my son might be standing there or sitting
right,
next to the bed. What's he going to say to me? Am I going to feel bad for leaving? And with that, now what I know, I wouldn't necessarily be earthbound, right? I would cross over and come back, but I can see where
yeah.
somebody who isn't in this and knows better would definitely make themselves earthbound. because somebody is standing there like, don't leave me, don't leave me. And if the body
Right.
fails, well, now they're a spirit with no body. I can see them lingering.
Yeah.
Um,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
but yeah, no. When my time, I'm done.
I mean, I definitely see that side of it. And yeah, I mean, it would be hard because you do have loved ones. In my case, I don't have kids. I mean, I'm only 30, so who knows what's going to happen. But, um, I have nieces and nephews, and younger cousins and stuff. And I'm just like, they're going to be like, they might not be like, they're not going to be like, like when your parent is going to die, but like,
Hmm.
I'm the fun uncle. I'm letting you get away with stuff that mom and dad ain't gonna let you do. So like they're gonna be like, oh man, the fun one's leaving. You gotta stay because we can't have fun if you're not here.
Right.
And I'm gonna be like, listen, I'm gonna go cross over and I'm gonna come back and we can have fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you all the things in like low grade that they won't let you have.
Right, right. So, but it's like I see that, but at the same time, it's like it's not fair to them, to the person who's dying or the people who are living for the person who's dying to stay earthbound because I feel that that is a sort of torture
Mm,
almost in a way you're not at peace, and
right.
if the dead isn't at peace the living can't be at peace. And it's just like, let me cross over, like mourn me, let me cross over, let me go. You're going to miss me, that's true, but don't torture yourself. It was my time, and if it means that I don't have to deal with this knee pain anymore, trust me, I have a smile on my face
Right.
because these knees are too much.
So divines, like, do you find that some times of the year, such as Samhain or Halloween, full moons, etc., are more active because of the thinning of the veil? The smart ass in me says veils are thin anyway.
Yes.
So
I
it's
mean,
thin all year round.
I do agree with that. And the thing is I'm on the team of people who truly believe that our age on this earth is coming to an end. And so the veil is thin anyway. It is thinning, it's getting thinner and thinner. The worlds are merging.
Mhm.
So it's like the veil is thin anyway. But no, I don't really think that, personally don't feel that that affects anything because I mean, if you can cross the veil, you can cross the veil, whether it's thin or not.
I mean, ultimately,
No matter how thin. I mean,
if you want to get into some history folklore, right? This is the time of year, at least in the northern hemisphere, where
mhm,
things are slowing down, things are dying, your crops. That's why you're harvesting and you're trying to store
yeah,
things for winter for survival. Um, Harder to do way back when than it is now, right? Um, and it's that quieting. So you're not out doing as much in your
mhm,
fields with your animals. So there was more time to concentrate. There's this perception already that you're going into a dark time, less sun, less this, you're in an underworld. So I think that's kind of where a lot of this, and I say I think because years ago I did a bunch of research for somebody else's show and did a whole thing on it. So now I'm trying to like crack all of that open
mhm,
across different traditions, and and so that's when they would kind of like mentally go, okay, now it's time for some of this.
yeah,
Whereas, mediums don't find, none that I've ever talked to and that work with the source, sit there and say, it's easier to do right now because of the month of October. They're doing that work all year,
right,
regardless of time of day, regardless of season. But
absolutely,
there's there's folklore and tradition and belief over this time.
yeah,
Right? Yeah, conditioned to think it's thinner here, for we are more aware. And you have
yes,
then more time, right? Again, the animals are put away, the fields are done. You're inside trying to keep warm and not freeze to death.
Yeah. There's
So
not so much hustle and bustle, so you're paying more attention to your surroundings. So now you're seeing more of what's going on around you all the time. You're just noticing it because you're not as distracted by other things.
right. Now that being said, part of me being the mom, right? I'm like, oh, you're not distracted with outside, but now them little kids are
And
inside.
yeah.
But and this kind of goes to another discussion that we've had before, where a lot of women, especially, but men, I do believe this affects for them too, that like paranormal, psychic gifts, things like that, or the interest in paranormal become more later in life, 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, yeah, the kids are gone. Maybe
Right.
your jobs are slowing down because you're getting close to retirement. Like all of those distractions,
Hmm.
lessened or gone. The kids
Right.
moved out, the grandkids maybe come to visit, but they come visit, then they leave, hopefully.
Right.
And I only say that because I know I've got friends and family who they come to visit and then they never leave and they end up raising a second set of kids. They're like, I love them, but I wish they'd go home.
Right.
So, there's that as well. But definitely in the Burr months, back then it was a whole different standard of living or way of
Mhm.
living than what we do now.
Oh, absolutely.
But oh, coins, that sounds fun. It says I'm double hunting on Halloween. Richie, are you going to go hunt anywhere on Halloween?
I don't know. I haven't looked into anything yet because I have the next 3 weekends I have events and I'm like, I might just take Halloween and just rest.
Could be good. But Richie, ghosts only come out on Halloween.
Right. The ghosts and ghouls and goblins are only here on Halloween. Nope.
Um,
Nope.
see if we missed any questions. Now, Richie, while I'm doing this,
Yes.
you do use devices sometimes, right?
Mhm.
What is your favorite device to use to help get your evidence?
Ooh, sorry, I just took a too deep of a breath and just got a stitch in my side. That really hurt.
See, that happens with old age. Stop it. How'd you hurt
um,
yourself? I took a breath.
yeah, I slept wrong and I had and this is a true story. I slept wrong and I had my wrist in a brace for a month and a half. And I wasn't even 30 for a month. But
Wait till you hit 40.
yeah,
It's
I'm not
better.
ready. I'm not ready for that. I'm falling apart at 30, and it's like, come on, dude. No, I'm still young. I'm still young. But when I first started investigating, my favorite thing to use was dowsing rods because at first I didn't trust the dowsing rods. When I first seen people using them, I'm like, but you can manipulate that. And then they handed it to me, and I really looked at them like, oh no, you can't. Not the way they're made because they
A
got
good
the
made pair. Yeah,
you know
made properly.
they got mine is copper, and then it has wood handles that I hold on to and just lets the copper inside spin.
Mhm.
So I'm not touching the um, rod itself, and I am very steady hand when I'm asking questions. So there's no way for me to even manipulate it even a little bit. And but that was my favorite thing when I first started. But as I got older, I'm like, my arms are tired. I don't feel like holding these out here like this. So I like using a spirit box because I can just sit it there and ask questions and just listen to what words are coming out of it
Mm.
and hoping that something comes out that makes some sense. Mm.
Coins says he just bought two sets of them after visiting Gettysburg. Can't wait to use them at the end of the month.
Mine are probably mad at me right now because the last investigation I did at the reformatory, I promised them that I was getting ready to use them. And then I had every last bit of energy drained out of me. And I'm like, yeah, I think my night's over. I ended up leaving like an hour early from the investigation. And I'm like, I didn't use them. But at Madison Seminary, I tried for the first time the Estes method. And that is, I always watched it on TV. Um, a lot of them use that method. It's where you take the spirit box and you plug noise canceling headphones into the spirit box. Then somebody puts them on and they blindfold. It's basically sensory deprivation. All you can hear is whatever's coming through on the spirit box. And you have other
Hmm.
people in the room asking questions, and you just say anything and everything that you hear. And when you're done, the other people can tell you if anything made any sense. I tried it at Madison Seminary for the first time. I always thought, man, that's just scary. I don't know that I could do that. It's like I gotta see what's going on around me. But I
Hmm.
did. I did it, and it was awesome. And I was more perceptive to it than other people were. There was other people who was under for 20, 30 minutes and they didn't get anything. I was under for 2 minutes and I got everything. Somebody who was there did not like one of the girls who was asking questions. And through me, it was a female. And several times throughout that night, she came through in different areas of the building. And every time she came through, she had me cuss that person out.
Hmm.
She told her when I didn't know she was talking, obviously, because I couldn't hear her and I couldn't see that she was the one talking. But apparently, every time she asked the questions, I would say, "Shut the F up," and variations of that. And I'm like, so at the end of the night, I looked at her. I said, "Honey, you need to figure out who this is and why they hate you." Because I'm like, I am not the kind of person to cuss people out. And well, that's not true. But and
Oh.
um, I don't, when somebody's asking questions in these situations, I don't like telling them to shut up. I don't like telling people to shut up anyway, unless they're really getting on my nerves. But it's like, is if it was different people, I'd be like, okay, maybe my mind's playing tricks on me. I heard it once, and now I keep hearing it because I know she's in the room. But it was the exact same voice every single time.
Okay.
And I'm like, there's a lady here who really does not like you. And you're gonna have to figure this out. Like, I don't know how you're gonna find you a medium who can talk to her or something, but I don't think you're gonna have a good investigation till you find out why she doesn't like you, because apparently she's following you because they told me that she had mentioned another investigation she was on, and somebody through the Estes method there was telling her to shut up. And I'm like, okay, so somebody's following you. You need to find out who it is because they clearly don't like you and it's not good. It's not good for you. I can't tell you who it is. I can tell you that you need to
Some mean
figure,
girls going on right there.
like, she don't like you for some reason. Of course, just a little bit I seen of her, I wasn't a fan of her. I didn't like her energy personally, but you know, maybe the spirit chose me because they knew that I was feeling the same energy off of that girl that they were. I don't know.
Now, how many Earthbounds, Karen is wondering, do you think is at the Madison Seminary?
That's a that's a difficult. Mm. See, the thing is that's a difficult question to answer in any haunting. Um, since I mean, I'm a sensitive. I'm not like where I used to be because of what happened. Something happened at the reformatory years ago, and I just closed myself off completely. And I'm slowly opening back up because I faced that earlier this year. I went and faced the darkness that engulfed me for 5 years. Um, but I think the only way to know for sure if a spirit is earthbound or not is for a medium to tell you. Me personally, I couldn't tell you. There's a lot of spirits there, I know that. How many are earthbound, I have no clue. And there are some there that are just plain old nasty and evil.
Mm-hmm.
There's some little kids there. I had my pant leg tugged like a little child was trying to get my attention. But how many of them are actually earthbound? I could not even put a guess to that.
Yeah, coins. He's done that method at a place. It's like some people in my group got more responses than others. I believe it's because we are more sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I agree with that. I agree. If you're when you're more sensitive to it, you get more results.
mhm. um, and I think too, with big places like that, depending on how close they are to other buildings and residential,
Mm.
how many are coming and going versus that are actually kind of for that building.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
as far as that goes, and I'm sorry I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
mhm,
I personally don't feel like that part really matters either because it can all be to do with the land too. How much is coming from the land around it? Because I can tell you for a guaranteed fact at Post Town Elementary School, there are some students, there are some teachers, but there are also some people who were killed in a train accident about a mile away from the school.
oh man.
Um, Something that did not make the book is I did have a flashback. I was sitting there and I was taken back to that train wreck, and it was absolutely terrifying. Like anybody who was involved at that time who, went through that, whether they lived or died, they had issues. I guarantee they had mental issues afterwards because when I came out of that flashback, I looked at my friend and he already knew because he's seen it happen to me before. And I just looked at him as like, all I can say is I need a drink.
Mm,
I said we need to go somewhere so I can get a drink because it was that traumatizing. But there are pathways, um, and I do believe in some cases, like if you're a mom and like a little girl maybe or a child had been abused or they were killed, like beat to death, neglected, and they are over here in this house, they see you over here, a loving mom, you are so good to your kids, they see you playing with them, you see how much you love them, they're like, oh my god, I want that, so they come over to your house.
mhm,
So that part of that I agree with. There is, and because I've seen that happen too, where something completely unrelated to that property ended up being there. You know, 4 or 5 miles down the road, something happened, but those people are in your house for some reason. Something drew them to your house. So yes, I agree with that. And people, it kills me when people say, that's a brand new building. Nobody died there yet. There's no way it's haunted. Do you understand? Well, obviously not if you said that, but like, do you understand how the paranormal works? I
Hmm.
guess neither do I, but it doesn't matter if the building is 5 days old or 500 years old. It can be haunted because something happened on that land.
Well, and I mean, in the fact that the hauntings are old human spirits,
Yeah,
and the fact that we can't explain, well, we can, we got psychology, right? But
right.
the average person walking down the street may not understand why somebody followed them, right? Other than
Mhm.
it feels predatory, and the creepy guy's following you, or the crazy lady,
Yeah,
wants to keep praying for you as you're walking down the road. So,
yeah,
and it doesn't matter that your apartment complex is brand new; they can follow you there.
right,
So, human behavior doesn't necessarily change a whole lot once you die. If anything, it might get a
yeah,
little bit worse because now you're invisible and you can do whatever the hell you want.
right.
Which unfortunately, and I'm trying not to scare people, right? As this is coming out of my mouth. But I'm just thinking of like when we did the ghost talk event at the restaurant in Oberlin, and there was a guy hanging out in the ladies' bathroom, and the snarky comment was, I can do what I want because they can't see me. So, you
And
know, and there we are.
unfortunately,
Um,
and that leads me back to, if you're a jerk in life, you're a jerk in death.
mhm.
If you're a creep in life, you're a creep in death.
Yeah, you don't suddenly become all better and knowing just because you died. Now, Earthbound,
Right.
there's a whole other side discussion that can happen, and maybe that'll be something we do on a Thursday with Hank, unless, and if Richie, if you ever want to join, just let me know. But there's been discussions about um, the mentality, personality, and the spiritual level. Like, just because you're earthbound and you're dead,
Mhm.
you're still exactly the same. Once you cross over and you learn and you do better, now you're different. But then there's
Mhm.
others who say, okay, even once you cross over, there are layers to that psyche, personality, the spiritualism. So,
Mhm.
depending on which version of that person you're connecting to, how you knew them, what they did, and how much they've learned. And
Yeah.
I'm like, now you're going to worry some clients if you want to get too far into that, right?
Yeah.
And example given was like somebody who raised you passed away. Maybe they had a prejudice against a certain type of nationality.
Mhm.
You meet somebody, you start dating them, just because they passed over doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be all great for you being with that person unless you get to a higher level of that personality. Like you have to go higher than what you
Right.
knew of them to that like higher self,
Absolutely.
so that's a whole other type of discussion.
Yeah, and it's kind of like when you were talking about that. The only thing I could think, the first thing that popped in my head when you started talking about that was anger management. You don't, your anger. You don't get control of your anger after your first session.
Hmm.
It takes time. It takes steps. It takes education. It takes, you know, the will to do it. You have to want it.
Yeah.
Just because you cross over, you might see who you were and see that it was wrong, but be like, but it's who I was. So, like, I'm just going to keep doing it. Or if you're like, man, that wasn't very, that was a really bad place for me to be, but you're not going to change right now. My anxiety that I have isn't going to go away just because I'm right away because I'm meditating or because I have this new stone that you gave me that helps. um I'm still going to have anxiety.
Hmm.
It's just psychology in itself. I mean, you're not going to get over something
It's a
with
self
one
awareness.
session.
Yeah.
I can go to counseling, that's fine, but I'm not going to get over whatever issue I'm there to work on the first day that I get there. It's going to take years for me to get better. And I think, since we can agree that they're just humans in another form, it's probably the same way over there. You see what you did. Now it's time to work your way up to being a better person. And then maybe sometimes when you do cross over, you come back and some of the stuff is you trying to make amends for what you did. It might be too late for you to. It's too late. It's always too late for you to change what you did. But I don't think even death can stop somebody from trying to make amends for what they did once they figure it out. But the earthbounds, I think, are the ones mostly that where you get your evil spirits. Those ones are going to be your earthbounds for sure, I think, because they were evil in life, they're evil in death still. You know, and that's just, I truly, truly believe that. Um, and just completely lost my train of thought. It just derailed.
So Gina says, thank you for bringing something for us after Marianne's departure. I understand why, but she still missed. This was a pleasant surprise. And thank you for joining in. I know this was kind of like a last minute surprise for some, right? Richie, you and I talked about this like maybe a week and a half ago, and was like, let's
Yeah.
see what happens. So this honestly, you guys, is kind of like in the makings. You're watching it form as it's happening. We briefly discussed in between Richie doing a author event in the store during a psychic fair and me being in so many directions that day. Um, that having discussions, answering questions, possibly going out on location sometimes and trying to do something live. So there may not always just be the Wednesday morning. We could be out going somewhere. One of the staff members, Emily, is also a huge paranormal person. So maybe at times it could be Emily and Richie out on, location because I'm doing something else. So, um, you're going to watch this kind of form as we go. So this is the first one that we're doing with Richie. And so we have a whole other side because Richie uses the equipment,
Mm,
approaches it a little differently. Um, so we'll see what happens, and I think maybe, and I'm going to speak this out there. I have not ran this past her, so don't go emailing her right away, but as we capture maybe some evidence, maybe we could get Marianne on and like show it to her and see what she says.
yeah.
Because she and I have had dinner and she's like, I miss hanging out. And I'm like, me too. So that could be a good excuse to loop her in now and then. But
Mhm.
I do know she does not associate herself with any paranormal groups, nor will she ever. So this would have to be like, Marianne, look what I did on the side, or look what me and friends did on the side. What do you think?
Mhm.
So it's a slow process to bring Marianne over. Um,
We can do it.
yeah. So, feel free, guys, suggestions, comments, help us shape this for you, see what happens. Um, Chris, do you think spirits that still hold anger and prejudice are earthbound and have to cross over to let that go? I don't think they necessarily have to cross over to let that go. It's just kind of like if they were still living, like they have to know that it's an issue and that it's
Mhm.
wrong, be willing to say, yes, I do that, and then
Mhm.
make the effort to stop being that jerk. Um,
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think, I think it's a little easier maybe on the other side because according to everything that we know, the other side is where you're able to get all of that information and to be shown the things. Um, but I don't think they necessarily have to cross over to do that. It's just kind of like it's easier to heal going into the hospital sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes. than doing it at home by yourself, depending on what remedies you're trying at home. Some can work very well, others will just damn near kill you.
Right.
That's how it heals you, right? You took the poison. Um,
Hey, you said you wanted healed. You didn't say how.
right. So, kind of like that. Karen's like, can you take us to West Virginia for Bigfoot knocking?
Hmm.
Well, you know what? I have family that live up in the mountains of West Virginia. They retired there. So if we
Yeah.
want a yard to camp in, and I say camp because their house is like this big, um, we could. It's beautiful out there.
I
And
mean, I would love to do something like that. I mean,
yeah.
the extent of my cryptid experiences is staying in my car and driving through the local forest at 2 o'clock in the morning
Hmm.
because
Well,
I'm the only one out there.
we could have a home base in a whole like technical mountainside because they own, part of that mountain.
I mean,
Exploring now.
yeah.
The first time I went to visit, and they're like, "Here, go camp in the backyard." We're like, "Great!" And in the morning, they're like, "Oh, the bears didn't eat you." And I'm like, "They wouldn't come up here and eat us." And they're like, "The hell they won't." And I'm like, "And you put us outside." I'm going
Yeah.
home. Um,
They got their little hot pocket sitting right there. They got the little breading that is our tent, and then we're the nice filling.
yeah, yeah, we're just spicy nuggets that can run away. So
I fight back, so
I mean, they're bears, Richie. I think they might win.
not the way I fight. I don't believe, and I'm just going to say this, and a lot of people find it uncomfortable, and that's okay. But this is how I am. This is how I was raised. I do not believe in going in the woods, especially at night, especially in the mountains, in the hills, without some kind of weapon. Because there's any number of predatory creatures like bears that will not hesitate to kill you.
Mhm.
But more, you also got your hillbillies out there, moonshiners, and they are more dangerous than any creature. Humans are the most dangerous creature on this planet. Um, I don't believe in going out in the woods without something to defend myself. People are like, "Oh, you're afraid you're going to run into Bigfoot and have to shoot it." No, I'm not. I'm afraid I'm going to run into a bear that we have proof exists,
Right.
and that I'm going to be its dinner.
Yeah.
If so, I have something. I make sure that I have a caliber that would take down a bear, which would also, in my opinion, take down a Bigfoot, and anything else, because if it can take down a bear, it can probably take down just about anything. Um, and I only believe in using that as an absolute last resort. If I can't get away, if this is why in my YouTube series, I do say how to unalive creatures, but as a last resort. If you've exhausted all other options of getting away, and that is the only, and unaliving it is the only way that you will survive, then you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
But that has to be you have to be 1,000% sure that you've exhausted all other options.
Yeah, I'm already formulating the conversation or how to start the conversation with these family members. Be like, hey, come in with some friends. Can we borrow the yard and that mountain for a little while? And I'm sure they'd be fine.
Yeah,
But then, the obligatory, like, family sit around, that type
yeah,
of stuff. But, just this past, we're in the fall now,
yeah.
last fall, spring, I don't know, no concept of time anymore. Drove out there literally overnight, so 6 hours each way to pick up a
Mhm.
grandmother clock for my mom from a family member who was, kind of downsizing. Mom
Mhm.
wanted it, didn't have a way, and I'm like, guess what I'll do?
Right.
And in that just overnight, getting up in the morning and going out on the front porch, and having, Papa be like, "Oh, well, I see the bear was here last night." And I'm like, "They were up on the porch." And you're just like, "That's fine."
Mhm.
I'm like,
I
"Good
mean,
Lord.
it's normal. They're used to it.
Put the clock in the car. I'm leaving." Um, but
The the most dangerous thing that comes across my yard is a white-tailed deer.
I've got little black squirrels, black and gray squirrels here at the apartment. They're very sassy, but not very
Squirrels
dangerous.
in general are sassy.
They're adorable. Um, but they piss my cat off because they will get up and run across the window ledge, and he sleeps on the back of a chair right in the window.
Um,
He just gets mad that he can't do anything about it because how dare they run across his window ledge?
yeah. The
Um,
birds used to do that to my cats when I had my apartment. They would sit in the window and the birds would just come and just sit on the window ledge outside and just look at them. And the cats are like,
yeah.
and I'm like, hey,
I think they might have been hungry, Chris, because they came up by the grill, the grill food prep area. So I think they were, and that was the problem. Um,
leave this,
oh,
just
that's cute. Squirrel by my
leave us
house that
a
talks
couple
to
cheeseburgers.
cats. Yeah, Sandy, for being in the middle of a city, you have a lot going on with the animals in your area, but that's kind of cute.
You know what? Now that I'm reading that, we do. I have seen a couple boxes around here. They're adorable. I almost caught a baby one. I was this close. I had it coming up to me, and then its mom screamed, and it said, "Shoo." And I'm like, "Damn it!"
Yeah, no,
But
yeah,
I did. Maybe 3 weeks ago, I was driving maybe 2 miles from where I live, and I did see a coyote as well. And I know that they've been making a
mhm,
appearance in our county again.
yeah. Now my old house, that's rented out, like there's fox and hawks and all that fun stuff out there. But here
Mhm.
in the middle of, Olmsted Falls, not a whole lot. But um, right, they were going to take a picnic with whatever they could find. Um,
Mhm.
but there's access there's family land that we can use, and if not, I have a friend who used to actually go cemetery hunting with me when we were younger. We would sneak
Mm.
at night just to honestly sit there and bullshit because they were quiet, and peaceful. And
Yeah.
there were a couple of times where I'm like, "Do you see that?" And she's like, "Yes, but no." And I'm like, "And unfortunately,
Mhm.
towards the car, what are the odds it's not going to start?" And but she's moved out and she's in a even more remote, like they have to bushwhack
Mhm.
their driveway like every week and a half so they can get up there, and you have to
Yeah.
have a four-wheel drive car to get there. And I'm like, see, that
Wow.
doesn't sound like fun to me. That's
Mm-mm.
stressful living.
Yeah. I'm okay with living in a small town. Like I live on the outskirts. I won't live in a big city, and I don't want to be out in the middle of BFB where it takes too long for me to get anywhere. If I got to fight to get to my house, then I'm not going.
Yeah, it's that's she can lose
No.
water and electric on a sunny day for whatever reason, and I'm like, no, no, I'm not coming to visit you because that's not relaxing. I'm not coming. So the family member land, this might be a spring, late spring, early summer that can maybe pull this off of like, however we want to plan this, but going
Yeah.
out there and knowing that there's a secluded area to go run up and down on a mountain and
Right.
attempt some
Absolutely.
Bigfoot knocking and see what we can find. Um,
Yeah, I think I've not heard Bigfoot knocks personally, but I've heard a Bigfoot scream, and that is bone chilling and terrifying. Um, I obviously anybody who reads my book will know that I've seen and heard a Bigfoot close to where I live. Um, but the scream is insane. It is terrifying. I think I would rather hear a whole pack of foxes scream all at once than to ever have to hear a Bigfoot scream again.
Mm.
Then part of me is like, I want to hear a Bigfoot scream again because if I hear it scream, then I might see it again. And it's not as terrifying to see as people think.
Mm.
I mean, I guess if it's one of the ones that's charging you, trying to kill you, yeah, it's going to be scary. But the way I seen it, the first time was like, okay, I seen what I just saw. I got to go. I got to get up out of here. But then the second time, it's like, okay, don't move. I'm just going to get my camera so I can take a picture of you. And I look away to make sure I'm grabbing my camera. I look back and it's like, damn, he left.
Did you get that recorded by chance? The screen?
Unfortunately, no, because I wasn't actually looking for it. Um, I was literally walking. I was at work, um, and I worked at a youth center that is in Mohegan State Park. And I was walking through the courtyard at like 2 o'clock in the morning when I heard it. So like I was literally going to get some food, and I was out in the courtyard by myself. So when I heard it, I mean, I didn't take off right away because the part of me that is a paranormal investigator almost knew what I was hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, while I had 1 foot position to peace out, the other part of me turned over to the woods just to check. And then when I seen it, I confirmed what I was seeing. I knew there was not a thing I could do if it came over the fence that separated us. So I got myself into a building.
That's probably a good thing. So I'm looking away to see who we might raid over into on our way out. Because it's a little after 11, and I know we can talk for hours, but we've got to save
Yeah.
stuff for next week.
Yeah,
So the name of Richie's book is Journey into the Unknown. Um,
I got
if
it.
Yeah, and I have a banner, and I need to help Richie. So here, right, Richie, we got to get your business Facebook up to date.
Okay.
But that link right there will get you to his Facebook author. And I'm going to copy paste that, put it in the chat. So if you have questions, if you'd like to get a copy of his book, you can reach out to him.
Absolutely.
Ask him questions because this could help spur on the conversation for weeks to come. Yeah. And Richie, you do have a YouTube channel. Is it same name, Journey into the Unknown?
You know what? That's a good question. I forget. Like,
I'm gonna be so on you on marketing, sir.
it's like I know the answer, and as soon as somebody asks me, it's like, duh. It's like I lose my brain, and the problem is I have, my YouTube that I use for like posting videos of me singing and stuff. Then I have a separate one for the paranormal.
Gotcha.
So, yes, it is.
Hold, please.
Journey into the Unknown with Richie Grubbs.
There you go. So you've been putting up videos, so there's content already there for you guys if you want to go check that out.
Yeah,
and hopefully we'll be adding more.
So I'm going to record Monday nights. So every Tuesday morning when you wake up, there will be a new video up on there. I'm doing the series I'm doing right now. I'm calling Journey into Legend. I am researching, and me and you have talked about this before. I'm researching mythical and cryptid creatures because some of my friends were like, we know you know about ghosts. Stop talking about ghosts. Let's hear about creatures.
Don't
So
tell
I'm
me how
like,
to live my life is what you should say.
and I'm like, okay, like if that's what you, if you're going to, and I'm like, as long as you're going to watch it, I'll do it. Well, I need to, I need to do what people are going to watch.
Hmm.
So I'm going to do. I got that little series that I'm going to do, and my original goal on that channel was to show myself doing investigations, but unfortunately, the video recorder I got that has IR lights on it, which they're the ones that see in the dark. They make the TV shows black and white.
Hmm.
The ones that came on the camera are terrible.
Oh, okay.
Um, I was maybe 4 or 5 feet away from the west cell block and pointed the camera at it, and I couldn't see it. So I haven't been doing any investigations lately. Um, I haven't bought any. I haven't. I'm gonna. I have places on the camera where I can attach IR lights, so I'm gonna buy new ones, hopefully. But recently, my focus has been trying to get Journey into the Unknown off the ground, and I just published, and it is available on Amazon. I don't have any copies personally yet, but hopefully next time I'm in store, I will have copies of Journey into the Known. That's going to be an 8-part series. I'm going to cover 6 states per book for the first 7 books, and the final, I think, 8 states in the last book. And I'm going to 3 places in each state that are haunted historical sites, and I'm going to give history
Thanks,
as
Chris.
well. Thank you. That's it. Um, I'm giving historical facts as well as a brief run of experiences that other people have had. So even when I did Ohio, when I did the reformatory, or West Virginia, when I wrote about West Virginia Penn, I left my 2 cents out of it. Because if you want to know my experiences there, then you want this one.
Mm.
The other one is to give you more history and what other people have had happen. So that's what that series is going to be. But the first book, Volume 1, is available on Amazon. Both books are available in paperback and available on Kindle. So I did the ebook version now as well. So if you order from me, I can send you a signed copy. So, but if you don't want a signed copy, then you can order it however.
Well, thanks everybody for joining. We're
Yeah.
almost 20 after, so we've got to get running. Thank you everybody for joining us for the first paranormal talk here with Richie. We're gonna keep this going on Wednesday mornings. You're gonna watch this form as we go, because we're just seeing what we can pull off and what we can do. So look for us next Wednesday at 10 a.m. And real quick, I'm putting in the chat because I'm a podcast listener and I love this podcast. And speaking of Appalachia, the old gods of Appalachia, however you want to say it. It's a like horror anthology, but it's done in a very theatrical. So it sounds like you're listening to a play. It is excellent. And so they deal with like just the things that wander around in there and the magic women up in the mountains, and it's really cool. So many seasons out, take a listen. You can even listen or watch through YouTube, where as you watch it's just a still screen, but you can listen to the episodes. So if you like podcasts, check that one out, especially the folklore and stories of that area. But thanks for joining us, everybody. And we'll see you next Wednesday at 10 a.m. And we're going to raid on over now to Ian Moss because he's a cool local artist. See you guys later.